What if I told you that for less than the price of a used car, you could own a complete home that folds out from a compact box into a fully livable house with a kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom, and a living room, all for around $25,000? It sounds almost impossible, especially in 2026, when rent keeps climbing higher every single year, and the dream of owning a home feels further out of reach than ever for so many ordinary people. And yet, this home is real. It is being built and delivered right now. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how it works, what it genuinely costs once everything is included, and whether it could be the smartest housing decision you ever make. So stay with me all the way to the end, because the final detail about this home is the one that almost nobody talks about, and it just might change the way you think about owning a place to live. Let us begin with why this matters so much right now, in this exact moment. In 2026, the cost of traditional housing has reached a point where millions of people feel completely locked out of ever owning anything. Mortgage rates remain stubbornly high. Average home prices in most regions have climbed far beyond what a normal income can support, and even renting a modest apartment can swallow up half of a person's monthly paycheck before they have bought a single bag of groceries. For young people trying to get their start in life, for retirees living carefully on a fixed income, and for anyone who is simply exhausted by pouring money into rent month after month with nothing to show for it, the old math has completely stopped making sense. People are working harder than ever and feeling like they are falling further behind. And that is precisely why affordable tiny homes have exploded in popularity over the past few years. They offer something that the traditional housing market no longer can, which is the real and achievable chance to actually own the place where you live, without signing away the next 30 years of your life to a bank. The home we are looking at today takes that promise and pushes it further than almost anything else on the market. So let us talk about the home itself, because the first time you see it, you will not believe what you are looking at. When it arrives at your land, it does not look like a house at all. It looks like a large, plain, rectangular container, compact and sealed, small enough to be loaded onto the back of a single flatbed truck and delivered to almost any flat piece of ground you can reach by road. There is nothing remarkable about it at first glance. But then the transformation begins. With the help of a simple hydraulic and mechanical system, the walls and the roof sections begin to unfold outward, swinging and sliding into place like the pages of a book opening up. Panels that were folded flat for transport lock into position. The roof rises to create height, and within just a few hours, what was once a tight, closed box becomes a genuine home of roughly 400 square feet. That is the real magic of this design, and it is worth understanding why it matters so much. It ships small, which keeps transport and delivery costs remarkably low. And then it lives big, giving you far more usable living space than its travel size would ever suggest. The entire unfolding process can be completed by just two people working together over the course of a single afternoon. And once everything is locked and secured into place, it feels every bit like a permanent, solid, grounded structure, not something flimsy or temporary that might blow away in the wind. Now let us walk through what is actually waiting inside, because this is the part where that $25,000 price tag starts to feel genuinely astonishing. As you step through the front door, you enter an open and airy living area, with large windows on multiple sides that flood the entire space with warm, natural light. The high ceilings, which are only possible because of that clever fold-out roof, make the room feel dramatically larger and more open than its actual square footage would suggest. There is comfortable room here for a real sofa, a small table, a television if you want one, and the kind of cozy corner where you can sit with a cup of coffee and watch the morning light come in. It does not feel cramped or claustrophobic the way so many cheap small spaces do. It feels like a place you would actually want to spend your time. To one side of that living area sits the kitchen, and this is where the thoughtful design really begins to show itself. It is compact, yes, but it is complete and genuinely functional. There is a 2-burner cooktop for real cooking, a proper stainless steel sink, and a surprising amount of counter space for preparing meals. The cabinets are designed with real intelligence, using every available inch of vertical and corner space so that nothing is wasted, giving you room to store your dishes, your pots and pans, and your dry goods without clutter. There is dedicated space for a compact refrigerator, and many owners choose to add a combination microwave and convection oven, which keeps things simple while still letting you bake and roast proper meals. This is not a token kitchen meant only for reheating leftovers. This is a space where you can genuinely cook for yourself, and even for a guest or two, without feeling like you are missing anything important. But the next part is where this design gets really clever, so pay close attention, because the bathroom is the thing that surprises people the most. In so many cheap tiny homes, the bathroom feels like a desperate afterthought, a cramped and uncomfortable closet that you dread using. Here, the designers gave it real care and real thought. There is a proper full-sized shower with enough room to actually move, a comfortable flushing toilet, and a vanity with a sink and storage underneath. Everything is arranged so cleverly that it never once feels like you are squeezing yourself into a tiny corner. And here is the part that makes this home so flexible. The plumbing is designed to connect with equal ease to either a standard municipal water and sewer hookup or to a completely off-grid system using a fresh water tank and a composting toilet setup. What that means in practice is enormous. This single home can sit comfortably on a serviced lot inside a town, connected to all the usual utilities. Or it can sit out in the middle of nowhere, on a remote piece of land with no connections at all, and function just as well. That kind of flexibility is a huge part of why this particular model has become so wildly popular. Let us keep moving because we still have the sleeping area to explore, and the way the designers handled it is a big part of what makes this home feel like a real house rather than a glorified camper or a trailer. At the far end of the home, often slightly raised up from the main floor, is the bedroom. And this is a real bedroom, large enough to hold a proper full-sized or even queen-sized bed, with genuine room to walk comfortably around it, plus built-in storage running along the walls, so that you are not forced to live out of suitcases and cardboard boxes. Some versions of this home go a step further and include a second, smaller loft space tucked up above, accessed by a ladder or compact stairs. That loft can serve as a guest bed for visiting family, a cozy little room for a child or grandchild, or simply as valuable extra storage for the things you do not use every day. When you stop and add it all up, you find that you have a real living room, a full and functional kitchen, a genuine and comfortable bathroom, and a true bedroom. All inside a home that arrived folded up on the back of a single truck and cost about $25,000. When you say it out loud, it almost does not sound possible. Before we get into the costs, there is one more thing worth talking about, and that is how this home actually holds up over time. Because a low price means nothing if a house falls apart after a few years. This is a fair concern, and it is one that smart buyers always raise. The good news is that the better versions of these fold-out homes are built from genuinely serious materials. The frame is typically welded steel, the same kind of structure used in shipping containers that cross oceans and survive decades of brutal weather, which gives the whole home a strength and rigidity that wood-framed construction often cannot match. The exterior panels are insulated to keep the interior comfortable in both summer heat and winter cold, and the wall systems are designed to seal tightly against wind and rain. Many models carry insulation ratings that compete with and sometimes beat ordinary stick-built houses. The windows are usually double-glazed for both temperature control and quiet. None of this is flimsy or temporary. When it is built well and maintained sensibly, a home like this is designed to last for many decades, not just a few seasons. And because the structure is steel rather than timber, it is naturally far more resistant to the things that destroy ordinary homes over time, like rot, termites, and warping. That durability is a quiet but enormous part of the real value here. Let us also take a moment to really compare this honestly against the alternatives, because numbers on their own can feel abstract until you put them side by side. Imagine for a moment that instead of buying this home, you continued renting a modest apartment. In many areas, that apartment might cost you well over $1,000 every single month, which adds up to more than $12,000 every year, and not a single cent of it ever comes back to you. Over just 3 years of renting, you could easily spend more than the entire cost of buying, delivering, and setting up one of these homes outright. And at the end of those 3 years of renting, you would own absolutely nothing. With this home, after that same period, you would own your house free and clear, with no landlord, no rent increases, and no uncertainty about whether your lease will be renewed. Now imagine that comparison stretched out over 10 years, or 20. The difference becomes staggering. This is the simple, powerful math that is drawing so many people toward this way of living. It is not about being cheap. It is about being smart with the money you worked so hard to earn. Now, I know exactly what many of you are thinking right now, because it is the single most important question of all, and it deserves an honest answer. What does this home really cost once everything is said and done? Because a headline number is one thing, but the truth is always in the details. The $25,000 figure covers the home itself, the complete structure, fully built and ready to unfold and live in. But to be completely honest with you, a real breakdown has to include the other pieces, because a home is always more than just the box it comes in. So let us go through them one by one, the way a careful buyer actually would. First, there is delivery. Depending on how far you live from the manufacturer, getting the home transported to your land can range from a few $100s if you are close, to a few $1,000s if you are far away. It is a real cost, but it is a one-time cost, and it is far less than you might fear. Second, and this is the big one, there is the land itself. This is where your total cost can swing dramatically in either direction. If you already own a piece of property, or you have access to family land, or a friend with acreage to spare, then your cost here might be nearly nothing at all. But if you need to buy or rent a lot to place the home on, that becomes the single largest variable in the entire equation. And it is something you have to think about carefully before anything else. Beyond the home and the land, you have the site preparation, which simply means making sure the ground is properly level and ready, and installing a simple foundation or a set of sturdy piers for the home to rest on securely. On reasonably flat land, this is usually a modest expense. Then come the utility connections. If you are tying into existing water, power, and sewer lines, the cost is quite reasonable. If you are choosing to go fully off-grid, you will spend more money upfront on solar panels, a battery bank, and a water system, but in return, you will save an enormous amount over the years by having almost no monthly utility bills at all, which for many people pays for itself many times over. When you put all of these realistic numbers together honestly, most people find that they can have this home fully delivered, set up, connected, and genuinely livable for somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 in total, with the final figure depending heavily on their individual land and utility situation. Now compare that to the cost of buying a traditional home in 2026, or even to the sheer amount of money you would burn through on rent over just a handful of years, and the value here becomes very, very hard to argue against. But let us be completely honest and fair with each other, because every single home has trade-offs, and it would not be right to pretend that this one is perfect for everyone. This is a small space, and it is genuinely not for everybody. If you have a large family with several children, or if you own a great deal of furniture and a lifetime of accumulated belongings, you will need to seriously downsize and let go of a lot in order to make this work. That is a real adjustment, and it is harder for some people than for others. The fold-out mechanism, while it is clever and built to be durable, is still a moving mechanical part, which means it should be properly inspected and maintained over the years to keep it working smoothly and safely. And perhaps most importantly of all, depending on exactly where you live, Local zoning rules and building codes can make placing a home like this more complicated than simply dropping it onto an empty lot. Some areas welcome these homes with open arms, while others have rules that make it difficult or even forbidden. So, before you fall completely in love with this idea, it is absolutely essential that you check the regulations in your specific area first, because the very last thing you ever want is to buy your dream home and then discover that you are not legally allowed to live in it where you planned. That brings us naturally to the question of who this home is truly perfect for. Because for the right person, it is not a compromise at all, it is an upgrade in disguise. It is an outstanding choice for a single person or a couple who want to own their home outright without a lifetime of crushing debt hanging over their heads. It is absolutely wonderful for retirees who want to downsize, free up the cash that is trapped in their old house, and dramatically simplify their lives in their later years. It works beautifully as a guest house for visiting family, or as a rental unit placed on land you already own, generating real income month after month. It makes a perfect, quiet retreat, a place to escape the noise and the pressure of the city. And it is a genuinely powerful option for anyone who is simply tired, deep down, of watching their hard-earned money vanish into rent every single month, with absolutely nothing to show for it at the end. For that person, this home is not about settling for less. It is about choosing a smarter and freer way to live. To make all of this feel a little more real, let me share the kind of story we hear again and again from people who have made this choice. Picture a couple in their early 60s, both recently retired, who spent their whole lives in a large family home that had simply become too big, too expensive, and too much to maintain once the children had grown up and moved away. Every month, a painful share of their fixed retirement income disappeared into property taxes, heating bills for rooms nobody used, and endless repairs on an aging house. They felt trapped by the very home they had once been so proud of. Then, they made a decision to sell that large house, take the money it freed up, and place a home like this one on a quiet piece of land near a small town they had always loved. Almost overnight, their monthly expenses dropped to a fraction of what they had been. For the first time in decades, they were not lying awake worrying about money. They had the freedom to travel, to spend on their grandchildren, and to simply enjoy their days. They often say that downsizing did not shrink their life at all. It expanded it. That is the kind of transformation we are really talking about here, and it is happening for more and more people every year. So let us step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture here, because this is really about something much larger than just one clever home. What this $25,000 house truly represents is a quiet but powerful shift in how we think about what a home even needs to be. For decades, all of us were told the same story, that bigger was always better, that a real and respectable home meant a large house, a large mortgage, and a lifetime of payments stretching out in front of you. But more and more people every day are quietly discovering that a smaller, smarter, fully owned home can give them something that a big house with a big loan never could. And that thing is freedom. Freedom from debt that keeps you awake at night. Freedom from enormous monthly bills that never seem to end. And the freedom to finally spend your money, and, even more importantly, your time, on the things that actually matter to you. The people you love, the experiences you have always wanted, the peace of mind you have always deserved. A home like this is not about having less. It is, in the truest sense, about being free. And here, at last, is that final detail I promised you all the way back at the beginning, the one that almost nobody ever talks about. Because this home ships folded, and because it can be unfolded and then folded back up again, it is, in a very real and practical sense, movable. Think about what that actually means. If your life changes, as life always does, if you need to relocate to be closer to family, or to follow new work, or simply to chase a change of scenery and a fresh start, you are not necessarily stuck in one place the way you would be with a traditional house. With the right preparation, A home like this can be carefully packed back up and taken with you to wherever life leads next. In a world where so much feels uncertain and so little feels secure, the idea of owning a comfortable, affordable home that you can actually take with you is a rare and powerful kind of security, the kind that very few traditional houses could ever offer. And that, perhaps even more than the surprisingly low price or the genuinely clever design, may very well be the single most valuable thing about it. If you found this video helpful or eye-opening, do me one quick favor and tap that like button, because it genuinely helps more people discover these affordable housing ideas at a time when so many need them. Leave me a comment down below and tell me honestly, could you actually see yourself living in a home like this? And what would you do with all the money you would save? I read them all, and I love hearing your thoughts. And if you want to keep exploring the smartest, most affordable, and most clever tiny homes out there, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we share brand new designs and real cost breakdowns every single week. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.